Hi, and welcome back to Stamp with Anna for day 3 of men's clothing cards. Just want to recap that last week I did women's clothing. This week I'm doing men's clothing. And on Monday I made this tuxedo jacket, which would be perfect for a bridegroom, a thank you to your groomsmen, a senior going off to his first prom. So many uses you can find for that. Then yesterday's was a shirt and tie card that was really simple to make. I think we made it in less than 10 minutes, but it's really cute. It's really easy too. So the directions are on a YouTube video. And today we're going to make this vest. And today's card is just a lot of marking. So we're going to make lines and measurements, and then we're going to cut on all of our lines. So it really is pretty simple. So what we need today is a piece of Whisper White thick cardstock, 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. Then a piece of designer series paper, and this comes from the Playful palette, which retired this April, but I'm trying to use up all of my my card pattern paper that I have, because I find that I was a bit of a hoarder with it. So I'm going to start using that. So that's what we're using, and it is cut at 4 1/4 by 5.5, the same as our card base. Then we also need a strip of basic black. This is 1/2 inch, and it's probably, I didn't measure it because I'm going to cut it. It's 3.5 inches. But and then we need a piece of scrap black to make the bow tie with. Here it is, and a piece of scrap smoky slate for the buttons. So, like I said, this is all measurements. So, what we're going to do, because we're going to be marking our measurements with a contrasting color, and I'm using real red on this one because it's going to show up in the back. So we're going to do all of our measurements on the back of our card. So the first thing we're going to measure is this V-neck for the vest. And what I did was I measured in from the corners 1 1/4 inches from both corners, from both shoulders, I should say. So I'm going to make a line at 1 1/4. Then I'm going to make another line at 1 1/4 from this edge. Okay. Then I'm going to measure at 2 1/8, because that is the center point. And then I measure down from the top of the card down at I think it was 2. Yep, it was 2 inches down. But you want this 2 to also be in the center, so it needs to be 2 inches down and 2 1/8. Okay, so then we're going to mark our measurements. So we're going to make a V there and a V there. And with our scissors, I'm going to come in and cut that out. And that is at the top of our vest. And we're going to turn it over again. And I had a square piece. It was a 1.5 by 1.5 inch square. And then I cut it in half so that I made this triangle. So if this was the square, 1.5 by 1.5, I cut it diagonally. And I'm going to put that in the middle of my card. I want to make sure it's the middle so that everything else lines up. So what I'm going to do is mark this at 2 1/8. And then I'm going to make a line from this cut to that cut, just so I know that I'm staying straight. So then I'm going to put my little template right here. And I'm going to line the point up with that line so I know that that point is right in the center. And then I'm just going to make a line. So now I have that triangle. Then I'm going to turn my triangle around, and I'm going to make another line. And I'm going to do that on the other side as well. Now that's going to be the bottom of my vest. So with my scissors, I'm going to come in and snip those edges off. And now when I did that, my square that I used for my template ended right here. And as you can see, on a vest, the side points are always higher up than the end, the center point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut that straight up to the end. And I'm going to do the same on this side. Now when we turn it over, there's the bottom of our vest. See? So far so good. Now what we need to do is make the holes for our armholes. So for that I'm going to use the large, one of the large oval framelits. And the reason I want the large is if you use the smaller one, it starts to curve up, and then your armhole is going to look like this, and that doesn't look realistic. So you want it to be as realistic as possible. So we're going to bring it up like this, okay? And then I'm going to hold this firm, and I'm going to trace. And I'm going to cut that out. So as long as you can cut on a line, this card's good for you. It'll work. Now I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to put it on this side so that I know that I'm going to have equal armholes. Okay, so I'm going to trace like this. And since that's the piece that I cut out on this side, it's going to fit this side perfectly. So again, with my scissors, I'm going to snip that. Get closer to that line. Okay, and there we go. Now we need to make the center of our vest. For that, again, I'm going to turn this over, and I'm going to place this black strip so that it's in the center, or roughly the center, centered as possible on both tops. So right here, I have these 2 points that are right there, and then over here, I want it to look the same too. So I'm going to, holding tight, I'm going to mark this V, and this, oops, and this V down here as well. Now this is a little harder to see because it's red on black, but it's doable. So again, with my scissors, I'm going to come in and snip along those lines. Try to get as close to that corner as possible without having to tear it, okay? And on this line as well. So now, when I turn it over and I place this on my vest, they should line up nicely. Trim this one just a tad. Okay, let's try that again. And that fits nicely. Okay, so now we need to make our bow. And to make the bow, we're going to use the bow builder punch. And we need two of this one and one of that. I'm going to punch that out. And with our bone folder, we're going to break down the fibers of this little bow here. I'm going to take some glue dots and we're going to assemble our bow. Okay, we're going to put a glue dot on the edge of this piece here and bring those ends together. We'll do it with the other one as well. And then we're going to put one on this completed bow, and that's how we're going to attach the two bows together. Okay, then we'll take this little strip and we'll put a glue dot on either end. And now we're going to wrap it around our bow cutout. And there's our bow. Okay, we probably should have attached this while we had it in our hand. Okay, this is the one that goes on the top. And this is the one that goes on the bottom. Okay, so now we need to make our bottom card, our bottom of our card. Okay, so now we need to make this little cutout. So we have our card, which is thick whisper white, 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. What I'm going to do is come back in with my pencil and my ruler. I'm going to mark 1 1/2 on either end. And I'm going to come down, maybe about 3/4 of an inch and mark it 2 1/8. And I'm going to take my snips and I'm going to cut straight into that right there. And I'm going to use these points as my guide to score. I'm going to open this up so I don't get it in the bottom one. I'm going to score my shirt collar on either side. It's a short little shirt collar. And I'm going to bend this flap in. Okay, so then we're going to attach our vest. We're not going to put this, you can put it down, but I like it up like that. I think it gives it a little bit more dimension. So we're going to attach the vest to the card. Making sure you're aligned on this folded edge as well as up on the top. Okay. Now we're going to attach our bow tie with another glue dot. Put that right about there. Now to make these buttons, what I did was with the Owl Builder punch, which is retired, and I really don't like using retired products, but I needed something that had that size hole. I punched out a couple of those medium-sized eyes in smoky slate. I'm going to attach them to my vest using a glue pen. I'm going to put the one in the middle first so that I have equal spacing. And one on the top. And one on the bottom. Now you'll notice in the sample that I have, the buttons shine. How did I do that? Well, with my fine tip glue, of course. I'm going to open up my glue and I'm going to just coat this button with the glue. And because it's fine tip, I have a lot of control over where it's going to go. I'm not pressing very hard because I don't want a glob of glue to come out. I'm ever so lightly pressing. Now this will take some time to dry, so you do want to set it aside. And don't forget to cover your glue, the tip of your glue pen, because it will dry out. So anyway, there is our card. And I want to just push this one aside because I don't want anything to happen to the glue. And as you can see, it was really quick to make. There was, it was just a matter of measuring and cutting. And you could certainly modify any of the measurements that I used if you want your vest to take up more space, if you want your armholes to be bigger, or if you want a different cut on the bottom. You can certainly change it up anyway, but that's just basically how I did it. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you'll come back tomorrow for another men's clothing card. If you have any questions about this project or any of the products that I used, certainly contact me through my blog, www.stampwithanna.blogspot.com, and I'll be sure to get back to you just as soon as I can. While you're on my blog, I hope that you will hit the subscribe button so that you can subscribe to my newsletter. And I send newsletters out usually once a week, and there's always a recap of all the projects with the link to any YouTube videos that were posted that week. I also post classes for those of you who are local and would like to come to some of my classes. And I also post information about Stampin' Up! Sales and special promotions. So I hope you will join me in my newsletter. Have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow.